Oh, we gotta go. Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms, and invocation this morning is by Rich Warfield. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. By the way, I'm the Assistant Sergeant of Arms when he goes on vacation, or is that what they call it? Vacation? Invocation, but when you go on vacation. Uh-oh, I am pressure. I have pressure. And then I got these guys in nice suits up front. Oh my goodness. All right. Let us bow our heads. Lord God, thank you for this time today with these men and women from Rotary and the guests. And thank you for all the gifts you give us daily. And let us think about the things we say and let it come from the heart today, Lord God. And thank you for the food that you've blessed us with this morning at breakfast. And amen.
Thank you, Rich. And lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, Father Joe Boisel. And normally after a president is no longer a president and they haven't had to do this for over a year, you know, he may falter a little bit, but we hope he practiced.
Bear with me, will you? First of all, let's join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag and now the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, second, third, and fourth.
Very good, Father Joe. Thank you. Normally, I would introduce the guests at this point in time, but we have so many of them, and I didn't get all their names. Just a real good welcome to all of you that have come today to listen to the program. We do have a visiting Rotarian, and I'm not sure how long she's going to hold that title, but Suzanne Morgan, who is with the Rotary #1 in Chicago, and but she lives here in this building, so we'll have to drop that visiting Rotarian here one of these days. A few birthdays. This being a new month. This is where I have to see what I'm doing. Our September birthdays: Patricia Getz, September 1st, and Sue Carter, September 1st. Jim Lang, September 23rd, and Madeline Lepe Carino, September 23rd. Very interesting. The birthdays both fell on the same day. We only had September 1 and September 23. Anniversaries in Rotary: Amanda Connolly, 1 year, September 2022. Dan Filburn, September 2016, 7 years. Ed Sogan, September 14th, 2005, 18 years. Jim Lang, September 2016, 7 years. And Chris Foster, September 2020, 3 years. So congratulations to all of those Rotarians. Normally we would sing happy birthday, but Chris is not here. Oh, shucks, I'll lead it anyway. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. And now our president, Terry Borknick.
Good morning, everybody. So happy to see so many visitors today. We have a little bit of business to take care of. As many of you know, we have received a check from the state of Ohio for $9,386 for our cabin project. So kudos to those who worked on that project and worked on that grant to get that money. Yes, Tom. $9,386. Oh, I was going to say, no, that's all I see. Okay. We have more to come. Okay. In total. Okay. All right. So in total, it'll be the full 75 at some point. Okay, great. And again, thanks to all of you who did such hard work on that. I used to be a school teacher. Writing grants is not an easy task. So it's a well taken project. A few other things. The Pints to End Polio has been rescheduled. It is not going to be on September 21st. And remember, it's going to be at the brand new brewery downtown on Milford Drive. It used to be the game place. I forget what, the Malted Meeple. And it is now going to be the Green Valley Brewing Company. So it'd be a good time to get out there and give it a try, see how it is. But it's going to be on November 9th. So you'll have plenty of time to get prepared for that. This month, our donations, since we're done with our buckets for now, which was a very successful drive. Did we fall short on that at all? Completely paid for it? Excellent. Okay. Anyway, we're going to, our donations will go this month to the Boys and Girls Club. Let's just focus on after school snacks and things now that the kids are back in school and they'll be back at the facility for those of for the kids who didn't maybe use it over the summer. So they can always use individual packed snack type items and cereal, things of that nature. So anything you can donate for that would be greatly appreciated. Coach, you wanted to say a few words now that we have Coach back. You can all guess what he's going to talk about.
We do play Stowe at Stowe Friday night. Just mark it down. Make sure you buy a ticket. We are having our Santa on the Green on December 2nd. It's been a tradition in Hudson, I would say, for 50 years. And we took it over when Jimmy Suppin was the chairman of that particular endeavor. We look for an hour-and-a-half shifts from our membership, and Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be on duty from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on that particular day. So take a look at your calendars, mark it down, and we'll have a sign-up sheet next week. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have a sign-up sheet sometime in November. All right, just a reminder.
Okay. And I'm sure that won't be the only reminder, am I correct? Okay. Board meeting next week after the meeting, so plan on that. Those of you who are members of the board or anyone who would like to join, we're always happy to have anybody there. The More Than Pink Walk at Joanne Fabric, which is to be held on September 30th. Again, if anybody has some time, you don't have to have a team to walk, but if you have a little time to volunteer, they can use help at lots of their various stations, just even giving out water and snacks, things of that nature. So if you have any interest in that, just contact me and I'll put you in contact with whoever it is that we need to. Actually, the number was in your weekly meeting information from last week. So, but I can get you in contact with them. And then finally, RILA, the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. This is a something that I'm told we participated in prior to COVID. And it is is it a camp? It's a camp that selected people go to. We are looking for someone to be a representative to that for us. There is a Zoom meeting on Sunday afternoon, September 24th. Even if someone can participate in the Zoom meeting, it's imperative that we have a representative. I'm unavailable that day, so I can't do it, or I would jump on. But if there's somebody who could at least jump on the meeting and bring the information to us, that would be very helpful. You don't necessarily have to commit. Gail? Excellent. I'll talk to you after the meeting about it, okay? But it's something that we should get back into participating with. Okay. All right. And at that, I am going to hand the podium over to Mr. Basil to introduce our guests today.
Thank you, President Terry, and good morning again, fellow Rotarians and guests. I'm Dave Basil, and it's my pleasure this morning to continue the presentation of candidates who will appear on the ballot for local elected office in the election this November. These sessions are offered by our club as a service to allow our fellow citizens to see and hear the candidates. We are beginning earlier than usual in many elections past because of the trend toward early voting. Today, we will hear from candidates for Ward 2 on Hudson City Council. I will briefly introduce each candidate. Each candidate will then have 5 minutes for prepared remarks to discuss their qualifications and to share their views on issues. Following the candidates' prepared remarks, there will be an opportunity for questions from members and guests. Those present in the room should use the central mic located back in the central aisle. And those joining us via Zoom can send in their questions via chat. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. And in order to facilitate as many questions as possible, please keep your questions short and to the point. Again, these are questions, not speeches. A question generally should be presented in 20 to 30 seconds. We will circle back for follow-up questions once everyone has had an opportunity to ask a question, everyone that wants to, provided there is enough time. We will take the last question at about 8:20. After the candidates are done speaking and during the question and answer period, they will be seated on the stage in the chairs over there. Out of respect, please do not applaud or respond to individual responses. We can join in sharing our joint appreciation at the end of the meeting. The first candidate we will hear from today is Chris Foster. Chris's parents moved to Hudson in 1969 when he was a year old. Chris attended Hudson schools and graduated from Hudson High School. He returned with his wife at the age of 23, living in 4 homes in Ward 2 between 1991 and 2023. His 3 children all graduated from Hudson High School between 2012 and 2019. He holds degrees in international business and marketing and is currently enrolled in the Master of Legal Studies program at Washington University in St. Louis. I trust that is probably an online. He is a business owner in the media space, a retired wide area network engineer holding certifications from Microsoft and Cisco. He is a beekeeper and a marathon runner. He is the current Ward 2 representative to City Council and is the current council president. While serving on Hudson City Council, he has been the liaison to the Environmental Awareness Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Economic Incentive Committee. Please join me in giving a welcome to Chris Foster.
I feel as though that that intro was longer than I remember sending in, so I may end up repeating a couple things. Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Chris Foster. I did grow up in Hudson, and my parents moved here in 1969 when I was 1. So I've lived here the vast majority of my life. My mother even worked as a school librarian for a number of years. She made me call her Mrs. Foster, which really bothered me. It's probably time for me to get over that. I've lived in 6 homes in Hudson, actually, 4 of them in Ward 2. Growing up, it was on Elm Crest and Glastonbury, but as an adult, Hudson Drive, Towbridge. My children were raised in the corner of Atterbury and Oxford, all of whom were Hudson grads, and my wife and I now live on Walters Road. I attended university in Germany, where I obtained degrees in international business, marketing, and classic German literature. During my work career, I obtained technical certifications as Cisco certified network professional in wide area network design, switching, routing, and security. I'm also a retired Microsoft certified systems engineer. As a lifelong learner, I'm enrolled in law school at Washington U remotely, still Socratic method, very interesting, focused on constitutional law and litigation. I'm a business owner, employing over 100 professionals in the media industry in Valley View. I'm current Ward 2 representative, and I'm the council president. I'm a farmer with chickens, turkeys, alpacas. My wife and I are beekeepers. I still find time to run a marathon a year and look forward to getting back into cycling next year. In my spare time, I use my homemade hydroponic systems to raise planted crops in a 600 square foot greenhouse year round, and likely live in one of the most off the grid homes in the city of Hudson. My interests are diverse. In my time on city council, I've been the liaison for the Environmental Awareness Committee, the Planning Commission, the Economic Development Board, and the Tax Incentive Review Board. And I restarted the Hudson Office for Mutual Endeavors, which connects council, the school board, the parks, and the library together on a quarterly basis to discuss issues that have citywide impact. During my time on council, we've approved over 20 connectivity paths, which are currently being built to connect Hudson. Previous to this council, the city tried to build 5 paths that had been designed and failed at each and every one of them. Why? Because they didn't go into the community and discuss the plans with residents and get their approval before taking action. The job isn't just sitting at a desk and providing a vote. It involves going to the doors of our neighbors, walking wetlands with the EPA and Army Corps of Engineers, working with politicians and federal agencies to get work done. I've met with state and federal elected officials from both parties. Those meetings have brought in small and large funding for things like the Scout Cabin Restoration Project, ADA equipment, brownfield grants, possible water line expansions, and more. I applied to be the Ward 2 representative, but was denied by the previous council, so I had to earn it. We have a lot of hardworking council members, but I've been called the hardest working member by some residents, and that has meant a lot. I've served the city for almost 4 years now, and I'm asking to be allowed to serve for 4 more. I want to finish some things we started in the city, such as expanding the velocity backbone via a public-private partnership that this council initiated. That would bring fiber to every corner of the town while avoiding that $22 million in investment the previous council wanted to spend. Those dollars can be better spent in ways such as community center needs, inclusive parks, long overlooked infrastructure needs to serve areas ignored by decades of council. I want to ensure the comprehensive plan reflects the wants and desires of our community. The last plan not only failed the steering committee members who invested their time, talent, and energy, but the residents of this community. It resulted in years of either controversial or failed projects. We need to get this plan right. It will steer where phase 2 goes, and that's a significant issue. Expanding water and stormwater was brought up by this council, no other. Funny that people who are running for council use that as a community need in their promotion. I would say we're on it. We're trying to expand Hudson Water to protect our residents in the same way we're trying to develop better mutual coordination agreements with power companies so HPP can lend a hand to our residents without forcing them to wait for an outside company to get around to their needs. I'm just your neighbor, offering to continue to volunteer for 4 more years before my primary concern changes to focus on grandchildren, which my wife and I hope our own children will start providing in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. We will next hear from Madeline Lapidi Carino. Madeline was born in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, to Italian immigrant parents and was the first generation in her family to attend college. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education from the University of Pittsburgh, her master's degree in social science administration from Case Western Reserve University, and her JD from Cleveland Marshall College of Law at Cleveland State University. Madeline was admitted to the practice of law in Ohio in 2003 and focused on juvenile and family law matters while serving as an assistant prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a guardian ad litem. She is also certified with the Ohio Supreme Court as a mediator in basic, elder, and child protection matters. Madeline's community service includes her role as president of the Laurel Lake Resident Association for the current 22-23 term, and her role as a founding member of the Informed Citizens Committee at Laurel Lake. She is a member of the Rotary Club of Hudson, St. Mary Parish, where she is a member of the Lifelong Adult Ministry, and a sustaining member of the Summit County Juvenile Court Women's Board. Please join me in welcoming Madeline Lapidi Carino.
First, I'd like to thank the Rotary and especially David Basil for inviting me to speak here today. I get a lot of questions as to why I am running for council at this stage of my life. I've had a rewarding career as a mental health therapist, as a lawyer, as a mediator, resolving conflicts and complex matters. I've recently retired as a guardian ad litem at the Portage County and Summit County courts, and I recently completed a term as president of the Laurel Lake Association. I have a wonderful life at Laurel Lake, surrounded by people who are very well educated and awesome. So the truth is, I would not be running for council at all if I felt council was functioning properly. I have lived in Hudson for 47 years, raised two children in Hudson, raised children in Hudson, more than two, and I was content with the way council is functioning. At that time, council functioned in a truly nonpartisan manner, collaborating respectfully to resolve problems and to launch new initiatives. Now, that's not to say that council didn't have any disagreements in the past or have heated debates among themselves, but they were able to sit down and work with each other, negotiate and fact find and come together for the benefit of the Hudson community and its residents. Unfortunately, I feel that now that has changed, and I see council has become a forum for divisiveness, acrimony, and partisanship. For the city council to function effectively, it must function collaboratively, respectfully, and with civility among its members and with the community and its leaders. It must work cooperatively with its nonprofit entities that have worked tirelessly for the past 50 years to make Hudson a great community that it is. We would all agree that Hudson's a special place, but that didn't happen by accident. It was a result of years of selfless leadership, vision, and cooperation among council, the community, and its nonprofits. And for community collaboration, it includes a commitment to shared decision-making and the facilitation of sustainable community development. The city of Hudson has always been able to work with its nonprofits effectively to serve the residents and to plan events. The city has always made a place for our nonprofits, such as the Destination Hudson, Hudson Food Pantry, Hudson Community First, Hudson Community Foundation, and so on. We need to continue to support and work with our community leaders to develop a comprehensive plan that will attract, maintain, and support our businesses. And we also need to support and get support for development of our land adjoining the Phase 2 land, adjoining First and Main, which will benefit our residents and increase our tax revenues. Placement of empty nest in housing and single family housing would be one of these examples that how we could use this land. For now, we're spending $15,000 a month in expendable debt for an empty lot, which is $180,000 a year for over multiple years with nothing accomplished. We also need to collaborate in developing a comprehensive climate plan. Unfortunately, the subcommittee for greenhouse gas inventory voted not to follow through on a greenhouse gas emission inventory. This inventory would have defined the, okay. So at this point, I will add this, I will add that these are reasons why I'm running, and I hope you share this vision with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lapidi Carino. And now there will be an opportunity for questions from members and guests for the two candidates who have joined us this morning. Again, please use the central mic in the central aisle. The first question, please. Yes, Patrick.
So there's been in the news interest in the Boston Township and the Village of Peninsula potentially getting City of Hudson water. Can you both share your opinions on that possibility down the road?
Okay, I believe that's something that we do need to work on, and that we need, right now we have several cities supplying us water, and I feel this is something we need to work on further.
You better get that timer out. This is going to be a really fast, long answer. So I'm not super supportive of Boston Heights Peninsula getting water, and here's why. Because we have roughly 3,000 households in the city of Hudson who don't have Hudson water or are dealing with problems with Akron. Akron doesn't properly maintain their fire hydrants, and they charge residents in the city of Hudson a 40% premium over Akron in order to get that water. So the city of Hudson's responsible to pay for that, and we get a bill on an annualized basis. I think our current bill is $250,000 for maintaining fire hydrants that Akron's never maintained. And so we need to expand the water infrastructure within the city of Hudson. The only reason I believe, just me, that city council considered expanding water into Peninsula and Boston Heights is because we may potentially get a grant that would put in a $4 million water line down in Nicholson. Now, in exchange for that grant, we're kind of on the hook for providing water to Peninsula. It's not a huge ask. There's about a 250 home equivalency in Peninsula. So it's not like it would dry out our well field, but it's one of those things where 250 homes, we could supply that 250 homes of water to residents within the city of Hudson. So, you know, $4 million is hard to walk away from. Now, at the end of the day, Congress only supported 25% of that. So we've got $1 million, which means we're 3 short. Now we're going to Sherrod Brown, and we're going to other congressional members to see if they can come up with that $3 million gap. If they can't, we're going to have to make a decision. I'm kind of Hudson first, right? So we had a lot of people who are on Hudson Public Power who got their electricity back really, really fast. And there were a lot of people on First Energy who sat without power for 3-4 days. So if city council is not worried about its own residents first, then, you know, we can't rely on another municipality to do that for us.
So I assume that
just going back to this water issue again, that another reason might be that we could charge the folks in Boston Heights and Peninsula more, that might help us subsidize expanding water provision to areas of Hudson that are not being supported right now, or am I wrong about that?
So yeah, we would charge people outside of the city of Hudson a 50% premium on the water in order to supply some revenue back to the city of Hudson that would allow for water expansion within the city of Hudson. But 50% water premium on 250 homes is not going to provide a tremendous amount of money back. Now, all of the infrastructure would be paid for from essentially COVID money. It's ARPA money that was given to Summit County, and Summit County would cover the installation expense to Peninsula and Boston Heights. But 250 homes are not going to provide so much revenue that we can drill another well field if we need to. See, we have about 2.1 million gallons in capacity in the city of Hudson, and we have about 2 million in capacity at the YDC coming from Cleveland. So we have about 4 million in capacity total. That represents about 90% of the capacity we would need for everybody in the city of Hudson, which does leave us short. And if we wanted to expand that capacity to everybody in the city of Hudson and or take people off of Akron, we would need to drill another well field. Drilling another well field is really expensive, and I don't think those 250 homes are going to cover the bill.
Well, I will have to admit that I am still doing a lot of research on the water issue in Hudson. All I know is that we do need to work together to deal with these issues as a community to resolve the water issue. I know it's been a concern. I know the people were concerned about the expansion of water. How best we can do this will be how we can work together as a community and as council members to do this. Thank you.
This is a follow-up question on the water issue. I'm not sure off the top of my head what proportion of Hudson's water is currently being mined from underground aquifers, and what proportion is being purchased from the city of Akron that's basically surface water from the Cuyahoga River. However, I am aware that we are going to have a change in our water and our hydrologic regime with respect to any kind of recharge. We're busy filling in wetlands one by one. And if we are going to be sustainable over time, we have to have better data before we make final decisions on how much we sell versus how much we retain to maintain. So my question is, what do we know about the proportion of water and whether or not increased consumption projected over time from current situations is valid without having some assessment of that before decisions get made?
Yes, I would agree with you on that, Mimi, that before we did anything, we do have to have some data at our hands to know what we're going to do, which is why I say that we need to work together to get a plan going, just not make decisions without some sort of data to realize what things that we would need for our water supply. We just can't go making decisions without having all our facts in order.
We had a 50 or 60 page report from the environmental agency that looked at the water table issues in the city of Hudson prior to making any decision. And we looked at, pardon? we looked at the capacity issues that we have in the city of Hudson, and it showed that we were well within the capacity. Now, if you're talking about change in capacity over time or density of population, that's a completely different issue. And I suspect that you're really just talking about a climate action plan and your concerns about, water table changes in the city of Hudson. I mean, for me, I'm primarily concerned about being able to serve Hudson residents first with city water from the city of Hudson that we can provide more cost effectively and for, better service for the residents. The data that we looked at showed that we had plenty of capacity. Our bottleneck is softening and filtration. So Tom, our city manager, is working with Summit County in negotiation for potentially expanding the water down to Peninsula and Boston Heights to get an upgrade to our filtration capacity. Currently, our filtration capacity is only 1.6 million gallons, but with changing out the medium, we can upgrade that to about 1.9, which is, gives us a lot of wiggle room.
Hi, Patricia Getz here. Kind of a more follow-up on this is talk about your views about the climate action plan and the greenhouse gas initiatives. There had been some talk at City Council that you were concerned that the data wouldn't mean anything from a greenhouse gas assessment. And yet there's a lot of other things that you talk about in City Council that you really look at data. So it's kind of confusing. So give your opinions on climate change and what we can do about it in Hudson.
Shouldn't really be confusing. The data that was utilized in the Akron Beacon Journal article, which initiated this whole climate action request in the city of Hudson, was data that was provided by coolclimates.org. Coolclimates.org provides data on greenhouse gas emissions based on square footage of housing only, period. That's it. It showed that Kent was a beautiful blue sky and had no greenhouse gas emissions whatsoever. As a matter of fact, Gary, Indiana was one of the cleanest air in the country. And we all know that Gary, Indiana, you can smell that city about 20 miles away. When you're coming to Chicago, you just pass through Gary. City of Hudson was blood red. We had some of the worst greenhouse gas emissions in the state of Ohio, according to coolclimate.org. Well, all they were doing was taking a look at average square footage of a house and multiplying that and saying, oh, Hudson's bad. We've got big homes. Kent is good. They've got small homes. Well, when you figure out how many homes there are, what the density of the residential capacity is, you show that Kent actually produces 2.5 times the amount of greenhouse gases the city of Hudson does. Kent has a climate action plan. Kent is a member of one of these, agencies that signed on to the Paris Accord and all these other things. So that data, sorry, but the underlying data was bad. It was biased. It was meant to indict communities with larger homes and make look great communities with smaller homes. As a matter of fact, the state of Ohio, some of the best air was downtown Cleveland and downtown Cincinnati. So maybe I agree on Cincinnati, but definitely not in downtown Cleveland.
Well, I personally think it was sad that they did vote down the doing a greenhouse gas emissions inventory, because it would have defined the amount of greenhouse gas emissions in Hudson so that we could formulate a climate action plan. And I feel that's important. We could either do that alone or through our ongoing comprehensive plan. It would have helped. It also, by having this inventory, could have helped us financially, as the Government Finance Officers Association reports, and this is from Greg Hannon's report, that exposure to climate and other environmental risk factors is one of the 3 factors affecting the government's credit rating. The plan can identify and integrate many of the solutions for climate impacts that are already affecting the city. I think it's important financially as well as environmentally for us to have this inventory to know exactly how much carbon and footprints emissions are happening in Hudson.
On a more practical matter, the city of Hudson has offered to its residents an ability to be buried in one of the city cemeteries for so long, I have no idea. But it's a benefit that is provided at cost to residents and charges more for non-residents. The city cemeteries are almost out of room. What would you project is a good solution? Does the city terminate this program, or does it find new land to operate a sixth city cemetery?
Well, like you said, it has provided a service to the community. And definitely, we do need to have these cemeteries. And the ones we have to have, need to be maintained properly. I know I go to the cemeteries, to Markeely, St. Mary's, to visit my late husband, and going through those unpaved roads is deplorable. And so, first of all, we need to maintain the cemeteries that we have, that we took responsibility for, and then look together as a community as to what we can do to further deal with the problems that we have now with the lack of land for the cemeteries. Thank you.
We need to continue to provide for the Hudson residents. We need to find land and expand, the available lots that are, ready for residents in the city of Hudson. It's one of those issues that nobody ever really wants to talk about, expanding cemeteries. But, the fact is Hudson will be out of cemetery space in something like 7 years, give or take. So we've got a couple of years to figure that out, but that doesn't mean that we can't start working on it right now. It's an important, obviously end of life service that the community is responsible for. Speaking to one other issue though, I did want to get back to the environmental carbon study and the fact that it would have a beneficial impact on the credit rating in the city of Hudson. The city of Hudson has AAA bond rating as it stands. We can't get a better credit rating. And so while I appreciate the fact that, having a carbon baseline might provide some benefit to the city of Hudson, the credit rating, the idea that it's going to provide a financial benefit just is not in reality.
Good morning. I'd like to talk a little bit about long-range planning. For background, I was a township commissioner in Upper St. Clair and Pittsburgh for 5 years. And every 3 years, we would have an update of the strategic plan. But the commissioners themselves, all 7 of us, spent the time on Saturday mornings going through the issues and coming up with a plan, which we would then present to the public for comment. In this case, in Hudson, we have a separate planning commission. They're going to come to some conclusions, and then that's going to go to council. Will council buy in, or are we going to go through another planning session with council to try and adopt what the planning commission has to offer? Question is, how many council members are on the planning commission? And I believe you are. And how do you see that whole process working once the planning commission comes to some conclusions?
Okay, so just for clarity, it's the steering committee, which is currently working on the comprehensive plan. And the planning commission then takes the input from the steering committee and then designs a comprehensive plan, and that comes to council. So council, I'm the liaison to the planning commission. I'm not a member of the planning commission, and there are no council members on the steering committee at all. It's comprised of 20 residents in the city of Hudson. That steering committee is currently working on 10-year comprehensive plan, and the 10-year comprehensive plan is really what drives development within the city of Hudson. That once accepted, that comprehensive plan is the planning commission is required to follow that. They are required to follow that. Council is not necessarily required to follow it, but it will come to council before it's approved. There were a lot of concerns in the last comprehensive plan by a number of members who were on the steering committee who said that the plan was not reflective of their input. It was driven by some city staff members and the consultants who decided what the output would be. And they spent a lot of time in that steering committee and felt as though their voices were not heard. I think council is going to make sure that the current steering committee have their voices heard before anybody lays that plan in stone, because that will, at the end of the day, determine what will happen with phase 2, what will happen with YDC, so many important issues in the city of Hudson, including recreational opportunities and senior opportunities and so on.
I have no issues with the planning committee and the steering committee. I feel from what I've followed that they've been doing well. My issue is with us as council working together to solve some of these problems. I want to get back a little with the climate thing where Mr. Foster mentioned about the credit rating. Yes, we have an excellent credit rating. I read the reports. We have AAA credit rating. Our financial situation is sound, but that doesn't mean we need to be complacent. We need to be aware of the impact of the environment on our community, which is why I was in favor of the greenhouse gas inventory. It affects affects not only our carbon emissions, can also affect not only our finances, but also our planning into the steering committee and planning committee and our city development. So these all tie in together. Thank you.
Thank you both for participating in the civic process. As the founder of a charity, I have some experience with the local charity organizational groups, and there was a comment made about city council either cooperating or not cooperating with those organizations. I wondered if either of you could comment or clarify that. Thank you.
Well, there has been some issues raised about with the nonprofits and the fact that I understand that in 2025, they have to find new housing. Our city has always provided a place for them. They have been tremendous in providing services to our community and help making us the special place that we are. And that now that they have to leave their homes and find another place, and to this is not the spirit of Hudson. This isn't the Hudson that I knew for most of my 47 years that I lived here. We've all worked together. The nonprofits and the charities have been very prominent in this community and have been very active. And I want to see them supported in this endeavor. So we should be keeping them on our town hall. We should be, as a community, supporting them and value their input, regardless of whether you agree with their leadership or not. You know, we all have different viewpoints, but we all, even with our different viewpoints, we all have something in common, which is the development and the enhancement and the continued greatness of this community. And we need to work with everybody in this community, the charities and the nonprofits. They provided great input into this community, and I am 100% behind them.
I know it's a great community. I've been working to try and keep it great for 4 years. So, you know, the idea of the nonprofits being kicked out is really very unfortunate. I heard Dr. Getz in last week's debate talk about the fact that we were kicking the seniors out of City Hall, which is factually incorrect. The seniors were never asked to leave City Hall. They're grandfathered in. They don't pay anything for their rooms. The organization has never been asked to leave. They have a storage room, and the storage room at some point down the road will need to go elsewhere. But the seniors have the right to use the downstairs at City Hall in perpetuity, just like anybody else in this community. As far as other charities go, I'm, personally a substantial contributor to the Baldwin Bus Marino House, Hudson Community Foundation, a number of other charities in the city of Hudson. They're very near and dear to my heart. In regards to, any other organization or any other charity, the only one I can think of would be Destination Hudson. I think Destination Hudson, if it is so vital to the community and it does a lot of good work for the community, should be a part of the city. And if it were a part of the city in any way, shape, or form, is completely exempt from any sort of legislation that would require them to pay for the property. In 2025, they're not required to leave. Even if they decide to stay in the location where they are, their rent would go up to something that was more reflective of a market rate rent, but they have not been asked to leave. So this continues to be sort of misinformation that's going around the community and really unappreciated.
Good morning. I am a member of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, although I come here as a resident. So interestingly, the community survey that we put out came back with a 94% satisfaction rating of the city of Hudson. Kudos to the community, council, Hudson Fire and Hudson Police for maintaining that. That's excellent. The number one concerns were safety, parks, and downtown. And all the talk about environmental concerns, that was number 8 on the list of 13. It was down low on the list for the entire survey in the community of Hudson. While I appreciate the conversation, I think the community would like to focus on the priorities. Number 1 being roads, utilities and fiber, and parks. So my question for you is, our biggest issue at hand, based on the surveys we got from the community, was traffic. How do you propose we address those concerns with traffic, minimizing or otherwise? I'd like to know what your thoughts are.
Sure. So council, city staff applied for a grant that would be utilized for adaptive signals. The adaptive signals were delayed somewhat because when you ask the state for $2 million, you get it when the state decides to give it to you, but we're getting it. And the adaptive signals, I believe, will be installed next year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're going in next year. Adaptive signaling is a way of something like 15-ish signals will all communicate together. They'll look at traffic that's coming down 91, 303 and determine the best way to route that traffic through the city most effectively. And it does multiple measurements per second. So it can say, hey, this car at this speed should stop given the traffic that's coming through this intersection. And that will handle all of the traffic that's going around in downtown Hudson. We thought that was important. Because traffic is a big issue, and also smart planning and development. There's an old comprehensive plan I remember looking at showed that the city of Hudson could have 30 or 33,000 people. Currently, we're at about 24,000 people. I can't imagine Hudson at 33,000 people. We have traffic problems now. Wait for another 10,000 people to show up. We're going to have some real problems then. And widening 91 and taking out the clock tower and green and whatnot, that's not an option. Right? Hudson's tied into 91 and 303. So moving traffic through safely, expediently with adaptive signals, in my opinion, is the best way to handle it for now. And concerns about what we do with phase 2, if we end up putting a massive amount of housing, 150 units down there, it'll have a pretty substantial impact on traffic downtown as well.
Yes, this is an issue that's going to require a lot of planning, sitting down as a community and as with council to discuss the traffic problems. That has been an issue. And I know council's been trying to deal with it, and I'll give them credit for that. but we as a community need to be involved in this also. And when we talk about traffic, I know people, again, rated the environment being low on their list. And if you put it as an issue like that, that may be that I can see where the environment would be low and talking about climate change. But that ties into all this traffic, because when you're talking about traffic and increase in traffic, you're also talking about increasing carbon emissions and that. So we need to have a plan, not only about dealing with traffic and that, but also talking about the climate change and how climate plans and how this impacts all of this. And that would include traffic because, as we said, we're a car-driven community here. And we do emit a lot of carbon emissions. So all this ties in together. So when you talk about the different ratings, you have to look at the whole and see how they tie in together. Thank you.
Foster, please let's give
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you very much. Would one of you remain up here and you can do the drawing for me, please? We have a payout of $12 today, and the jackpot is worth $119 today. So go ahead and give us a good winner here. Thanks. Okay, big winner, 924079. 079. Oh, geez. Oh, sorry, then that's a loser. Nobody? Oh, Ginny, okay. Oh, you're the big winner. Here you go. All right. Yes, that's it. Okay, I gave Madeline the envelope. Okay, all right. The black marble is in there. Oh, not today. So the jackpot will continue to grow. Okay, last call on the Yeti. This is the last week I'm bringing this. Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the last week I'm hauling this back here. It was left at the beer garden. After this, it goes to the Humane Society for their donations. Any takers? Yeah, it says Hudson City Schools. $10 going once, going twice. 15 going once, going twice. Okay, 25. 25. Do I hear 26? Do I hear 26, 26, 26? Sold $25, Mr. Tobin. Oh, 20. Maybe it's time for those hearing aids. Okay. Hey, today is National Fight Procrastination Day. So get out there and do an act of kindness maybe by tomorrow. What do you think? Okay. Have a good day, everybody.